Hey everybody, welcome to Crowdfunding Countdown. We're going to take a look at every single board game campaign finishing up in the next week. That's right, we're getting excited. I started out with lower energy, but not anymore. Are you ready for the best crowdfunding show in the land? Or at least something to fill your time as you watch it at two times speed. We're going to get into it, but first off, before we begin, I want to give a huge shout out to my newest patrons and supporters, Spaghetti Coder, Wilt, and Nina. Thank you so much for jumping on board, supporting the channel, whether you're a patron or a one-time donation. Super, super appreciative. Like, we have the friggin' best community here. Seriously, you guys are all fantastic. I love you all, especially because you got so friggin' on board with this stupid bit of putting it in the comments to backing a game designed by Chris George's Neighbour. So much so, I don't know if you saw in the community tab on Kickstarter, but I posted this, so much so that we got them to put this on the campaign page, which is so funny to me. Oh, it's so funny. Oh, I'm filming this, as you can see, it's winding down. There's 26 minutes to go. And I'm really excited because unlocked this special little stretch goal. So yeah. But yeah, I just wanted to shout out everybody who, if you are backing How to Save a World, I mean, back it or don't, I don't care. But I love seeing backing, so it's designed by Chris George's Neighbour. Right? JT, although, called me Yuval's neighbor, and it's official, I have to be referred to as Yuval's neighbor. My name is Yuval's neighbor, and that is my title now. You've also made a very, very stupid video that brought me a lot of joy. My favorite line in it is, "Do you know how hard it is to remain his neighbor, always giving up a hug and opting for a firm handshake or a nod from a great distance away instead?" Anyway, it was funny. Anyway, this was a friggin' blast, and like, it is all you, the friggin' community, who like to get behind these bits, and it was very funny to me that there were so many references of Chris George's fault. I thought I responded to everybody, but people keep on responding. I've been searching the comments, cruising for any mention of Chris George's Neighbor, which I think is very funny. Right, Daniel? Shout out to Daniel. Anyway, I wanted to start off the episode with that. Just shouting out you all, and not Yuval, to be clear. This is Renee in the background hearing that Joey's in a video. But yeah, I just think, like, you're all so friggin' great, so funny, and you're the best. Like, you really are the best. It's great. It's awesome that we've built this cool community. And we just hit 15,000 subscribers, too, which is kind of a cool milestone because, you know, these milestones are pretty exciting. And I'm just very, very appreciative of all of you. So the good times are still going to roll. I'm still going to be sarcastic and silly. And I appreciate you all joining me for that ride. So let's get into the games. Let's get into the game this week, starting off with one that, honestly, if I wasn't starting rehearsal this week, I might have done a 5 reasons you shouldn't back, but it kind of came a little bit too late. I try to do this only when they hit $1 million early on in the campaign, although I think the last one did hit $1 million as well with 7th Citadel. Let's see. 7th Citadel, oh yeah, of course it did. 3 million. 3 million euros. Horrible. 7th Continent was one of my least favorite gaming experiences I think I've ever had. I have a review on it. In fact, it was one of the first reviews I did on the channel. I played it solo, one of the only games I've ever played solo. I spent like 19 hours on the first curse, and then everybody in the comments was like, oh yeah, no, they screwed that up. How did that get through playtesting? That they just give you like a 19-hour curse. It was so boring and so bad, and I think only got a good review based upon its innovation. I think it definitely had innovation. Like, it had a lot of innovation. It had a lot of innovation in terms of bringing campaign games forward and those exploration games forward. I think it really kind of pioneered that genre. But for me, just a complete mess. Completely just awful. And so that's reason number 1 to 4. Don't get this. However, I do remember when 7th Citadel was around, and I remember looking at it, and I remember looking through the rules and seeing through their description that they have changed a lot of what I hated about 7th Continent, a lot of the fiddly, annoying food rules, which people say I got wrong in my review, which I absolutely did not get wrong in my review. They just need to clear the wax out from their ears. There is still a way to cheese the system with food rules. You can go and explore, and then it gets harder to explore, but you can still explore. And the fact that it is not eliminated from contention, but you can still explore at that harder level means that you can cheese the system, because the meat constantly refreshes. So you never run out of meat unless you're in The Walking Dead, and then you got to take a big old bite out of Bob Dog's leg, or whoever that was. D'Angelo. I don't know who it is in the comics, but it's played by the guy who plays D'Angelo Barksdale. Anyway, that annoys me. It annoyed me early on. People are like, you want to start a YouTube channel? Get the rules right. You want to watch a YouTube video? Clean the gunk out of your ears. I understand. I'm not that engaging, and really, I talk for too long. I can't expect people to listen to me. I'm sure you've already skipped to the pick for me, and the pick for you, and the grunt down, which will happen. But let's take a look at 7th Citadel, because I need to refresh my memory on this and see what exactly they did change, and what redeeming qualities it potentially has, so then I can tell you that they're not good enough, and that you shouldn't back it, and you should wait until you get Iridia instead. Have I been carrying that pent-up resentment in me for 2-3 years? Maybe. I don't know. All right, so from what I've seen in terms of this collector's box, there's nothing of value that people who have the original 7th Citadel should worry about. It, like, shakes up the original introductory scenario events that can happen. Because essentially what happens is you're going around, you're exploring this map. This is the same as 7th Continent. You have, anytime you want to explore a new area, a challenge drops by. These are missed cards. You don't know what they are. They're scary. They're going to be flipped over. They might be great items. They might be a sandworm. Who knows? Certainly not me. But that's how you move around and shake things up. And that's how the replayability, I guess, could be, because you're exploring and you're just, maybe you'll run into a different event. One of the great events that I ran into in 7th Continent was just a thing that blocked my way, an impenetrable statue that I couldn't get through. And so I was like, okay, I'll just go north and like walk around it. And then I wandered into a frozen tundra and didn't get out of there for 3 hours. Honestly, no, I did really have an abysmal experience with 7th Continent and do not recommend it whatsoever to anybody. But like, I'm not that upset about it still. Although I was pretty upset about it at the time, I guess. I'm like, are you being too harsh? And then I'm realizing I'm not being too harsh. Ooh, 78 additional cards to give you more cards to flip through in your Rolodex of cards. Yeah, even just seeing these little Rolodexes of cards gives me real flashbacks. Season 2 new content, the first garden expansion threat. A new threat that will take you to whole new regions of collapsing land. Includes a threat booklet, 2 Citadel leaflet, 126 cards. So it'll just be another little map that you can explore. Oh, thank goodness you're getting 4 dividers. What a collector box upgrade. I do want to see the rules. I'm going to take a little perusal, obviously, because that's just what we do here. Yeah, so it's the same thing. You'll have an action cost, and you'll have the action difficulty. There's stars, and then for every card in your deck, there's going to be some measure of stars on it. And if you make up to 3 stars, you choose how many stars you're going to draw, how many cards you're going to draw, rather. And if you hit that number, you succeed. If you don't, then you don't. This also acts as like your fatigue and your health, and you all draw from the same deck if it's in a co-op game, because it's just a solo game that they're pretending is a co-op game. See, this is different. When you no longer have enough cards in your action deck, you must perform a recovery to shuffle cards from your discard pile back into your action deck. However, this causes you to lose life points. So before, in 7th Continent, if you got to the end, you just died. And then you added in like fatigue cards or whatever, and then when you drew them, you were dead. There's a different life point here system, which we're going to take a look at. I don't know if it's going to be different enough, but we'll see. When you run low on life points, or you think you've achieved the goal set by the scenario, if you think you've achieved the goal like you don't even know, it is time for you to return to the Citadel to discover the consequences of your actions. Yeah, and you can see the example of the stat check here, these drawing cards. Apparently there's a new iconography where there are different symbols where you can convert them depending upon what actions you use. So far this seems very similar, and that means I am not interested whatsoever. So you basically get a number of life points by the scenario, which is the number of reshuffles you can have. I don't know if that's that different. And then when you become unconscious, when you hit 0, you shuffle all the cards in your discard pile back into your action deck, you draw 3 cards, and then you banish 1. That doesn't seem like, nothing on this seems like it's changed enough from what I remember which is really disappointing because I really thought it had changed a lot more. I think we were talking about it a bit in the Discord too, about how it's changed a bit. I think there are some videos out there of the changes, which people felt were significant. It seems very similar to the things that were annoying. Maybe they've shortened the length into an acceptable play length, but I don't know. Especially Core Adventure Box, €80, 119. As far as campaigns go, that's actually not too bad. Oh yeah, here's a gameplay section. I guess I should have looked at that. Full of random events, yeah. You get to, you know, be forced to pay attention to the art when you would have otherwise glazed over it. Okay, and there's more of a dialogue book. So there's a little bit more interactivity here. It kind of builds the story. I like this Choose Your Own Adventure dialogue book. I wish that it had been in 7th Continent. I think that's an improvement. You can get little bonuses. Sure, it's just a little tech tree. Powerful effects, constructing buildings. You can start with more life points. Woo, more reshuffles just to extend the length of the game, right? More objects, more companions, just to do different roles. It doesn't feel like it'll change the core experience. It'll just make you be powerful, more powerful in the existing experience. I do like this as an idea. You get a map and then you see how it's changed when you move along. I think that's really cool. I think that's a cool idea if you want to engage in that map and have a general idea of what's going to happen, and then you get something different. I think that addresses a pretty big concern of, like, you don't really know where you're going in the 7th Continent. In the first mission, there's like a scrawled path, and if you deviate from that path, you can just waste so much time. So I do like that. I do like that as an aspect. Let's see what shipping's like. It's probably, yeah, okay, 17 to 19, or Wave 2, 15 to 17. What's Wave 2 going to be? I don't know, probably just, hey, it's a couple bucks cheaper, so there you go. To the US, 15 to 17 euro. That feels reasonable, knowing how big the box will be, probably comparable to 7th Continent, which was fairly decent. It was kind of like the big box of Raw. That's the little box of Raw. Maybe the big box of Raw. Still, like, for me, it would be like $150, which is, again, on par with what you pay in a campaign game, but I just, like, I don't even have 5 reasons. I just have... It's probably good I didn't make a video of this, because it's just, 7th Continent was just so horrible. It was completely unfun for me, and I have no desire here. There's zero desire, and it's crazy because 7th Continent was hyped up so much, right? Like, it kind of took the board gaming world by storm. It was so interesting and so mysterious. And then in that mystery, it was just you filing through a big old filing cabinet of cards and pulling out one at a time to have mediocre push your luck experiences, in my opinion. But if you're interested in that, it finishes Wednesday, June 19th. And may God have mercy on your soul. We're going to move along to this, I think. Looks like it could be a game. Kugo, the flick game making kit. Flicking of fun for family and friends of all ages. 100% made from solid hardwood. I don't even know if this is a game, but let's see. Oh, it is a game, and it's just a bunch of blocks. It's a whole flicking experience. A box inside, you'll find a world crafted from solid wood. Every piece is creative opportunity to build tricks, obstacles, and game terrains. At heart of Kugo lies flicking a small wooden disc that we call the puck. Master the art of puck flicking to navigate through challenges. Outsmart your opponent. You think they'll hire me? Yeah, I mean, it's just blocks for adults, and maybe for kids as well. That you basically just, flick things. Well, look, they said, yeah, we were bored. We were flicking between 2 cans. And so then we thought, let's make a game out of it. How much are you? Probably expensive because you're wood. Tricks. I heard they're for kids. £29, 51 Canadian. Smaller, portable, more portable. Play. £49, 87 Canadian. I guess, because it's all wood, right? You need a good tabletop. I mean, the fact that you can flick things up, you're making your own trick shots is what this is. Probably well made. I like these little dice that you can potentially roll and then decide on how to play the game yourself. Maybe they come with rules, maybe they don't. I mean, I don't know. I think it could be fun for kids, but I don't see why you couldn't just get a bunch of blocks and do a similar thing, right? The thing that this adds is ramps and holes. And if you're looking for ramps and holes, well, I don't know, there's a joke here. Something off color or right on perfect chartreuse. Shipping to the UK, £9, 18 bucks to the US, Canada, $35 or $50. Like, get out of here. But I mean, you know what? I'm happy for them that it's funded. made out of solid hardwood, great. And now people can flick things to their heart's content. I think it will be pretty fun for kids. And I think you could probably find a dollar store or Temu version for significantly cheaper and have the same experience, because I don't think it has to be made out of hardwood. I think it could just be whatever. But that, if you're interested in that, that finishes Thursday, June 20th at 4 a.m. We're moving along to this one, Moon's Haunted, a card-based storytelling game where absolutely nothing weird happens on a totally routine and very normal mission to the moon. Yes, it was that tagline that hooked me. And I think it's very funny as a concept, so let's see if it's any good. How to play. Played in 3 acts, each with their own deck. Act 1 is where you find out your character, what you're good at, what the mission is. Act 2, strange things seem to keep popping up. Are you able to deal with the problems at hand? Act 3, you know the moon is haunted and it's time to escape. Will you be able to make it back home? You draw cards. It says what you're dealing with. You have to talk about what you're going to do, and then you can roll this rocket die to see if you're going to succeed or fail. Seems kind of cute. I mean, how much are you? Print and play, $3. That's the cute part that I like. Moon's Haunted game, $29 or 40 Canadian with no information about shipping? No. Okay, shipping's here. Great. It'll double the price. This would be like a $60 game, which, like, we have to be real with each other, right? This is not that. But I do like it as a print and play, so yeah, if you're interested in that, check it out. The finish is Thursday, June 20th at 2 a.m. Moving along to this one, Neverrift, the board game trading card game combo. The board game trading card game combo, that's more it. Neverrift combines the collectability and deck building strategy of a TCG, deck construction, with the tactical positioning and movement of a board game. I'm interested. I'm intrigued. I like deck building with a board, so maybe I would like deck construction with a board, or maybe this really is deck building, but I don't think so. Great. Nothing of value there in that video. Just a dark elf casting a spell on me, which, now that I think about it, might have great value, depending upon my inner darkness and demons. What do you guys say? Get me out of here! No, I guess not. I guess it didn't. I think it's just awoken the turmoil inside of me. We're even stronger. Okay. Let's see if this says anything about how to play. Yes, it does. There's a how to play section. Let's jump right to that. How to play. Creatures and tokens. Creatures are played directly on the battlefield. After it's played, you mark its allegiance with your token. Places are also played directly on the battlefield. No token marker marks their allegiance. Places can have unique effects. Taming. Creatures attack with 4 attack values when they enter the battlefield. The value is higher. Adjacent creatures get tamed. Turn over the token to show a new allegiance. Okay, so it's actually very similar to a game that was recently on here that you could purchase where things are flipping back and forth. Spells are played in your turn. Okay, combos. Oh, of course. Use combination of cards to open up a sweet spot for your next creature. You can tame multiple creatures with 1 attack. Tamers. Every deck has a tamer with 2 unique effects. The active effect can only be activated once per game. So this is the board right here. So it's not really a board. It's just a grid. And they're trying to sell it to you as a board because that makes people more excited. Well, there's a rulebook, so let's see. I do appreciate a rulebook. Okay, I do like that the attack values are different on all 4 sides. Makes it a little bit more tactical as you place a card down. Draw 6 cards. So you're going to have the cards in your hand. You still have the deck construction aspect. Yeah, it's not deck building, it's deck construction. The difference being you build the deck before the game happens, or you build the deck as the game goes on. So you want to just combo things together, right? You're going to be, the core of the game is placing these monsters, but if you place them next to places specifically, they can have different effects. You can be guarded from attack or whatever. You can, yeah, security, right? Like if you place this here, you want to put the 3 near a rocked event because you're putting your back to some safety, which makes a little bit of sense. And then spells, you can do combos, and then you want to capitalize on whatever effect your person is. Yeah, again, deck construction, not deck building. And then you get your little epic and your parallel foil. So you can really just be excited to waste your money on a 2% chance of opening the thing that you want when, you know, you could have just gone out and bought it. Timeline shipping estimates, basic version 10, 12 to the UK, 15 to North America. And for the basic edition, if you just want to get this as a basic game, it'll cost you 42 US, 57. I mean, it's probably not bad for the basic edition if you have no real desire about increasing your interest. Like I I just think it feels kind of basic. I mean, well, I guess there you go. The basic edition lives up to its name. I think the idea of placing these tiles down, essentially the cards are tiles, right? Placing the tiles down with strategic numbers in a tactical moving around situation seems fun. It'll all depend on if the spells feel broken or not, if they're exciting to combo with, if each creature has a different ability, which I don't think they do. Let's go back to the rule book. I'd already closed it. Yeah, okay, it does. This creature blocks the next incoming attack, right? So they all have different stuff. I mean, I would probably opt for something more along the lines of Mind Bug if you want the creatures having a thing that does something cool, and I'd honestly opt for that other card game, which was probably around the same price. Less exciting art, very unmemorable since I don't remember the name, but I just feel it's doing the same thing as this, and you might as well support an indie creator instead of somebody who wants to be a big old trading card conglomerate. Anyway, if you're interested in that, it finishes Thursday, June 20th at 3:59 a.m. Moving along to this one, whose art, I mean, this must be AI, but I mean, it's very good. It's very funny. Backpack Panda. Venture into a vibrant bamboo world and brace yourself for betrayal in this 4 to 8 player social deduction game for panda lovers. I know a few panda lovers in my life, so let's see if they're going to be backing this one. All right, I think this seems fine. Well, not for 36 euros, 54 Canadian. Dang. Maybe you get the mats in that? Must be. You can be the dark panda, you can be the light panda, you can be the diseased panda. One person's a dark panda and you have to give people bad resources. The other pandas are light pandas, they want to gather light resources. Or you can be an infected panda who is like the middle ground balancing person for sure. Okay, so you have an infect card. And then you have 2 phases. So this is your starting resource, essentially. Like, yeah, I got the air resource. I got the bamboo resource. And then somebody else says, no, I have the bamboo resource. You've just outed yourself. Now it's between me and you. The other 2 people, trade away. Draw 2 resources and 1 effect card. You choose 1 resource card from your hand to reveal in your own player board and 1 to place face down on an empty slot of another player's board. Okay, I kind of like that. So you're deciding what the trade is for somebody else. And somebody has to decide to accept or reject both cards. So essentially you're figuring out to accept a trade from somebody who didn't have the agency of putting their own thing down. Unless they gave it to you, they're like, hey, let's make a trade, you and I. I gave you good stuff, you gave me good stuff, let's trade. That would be the obvious conversation that would happen around the table, and then whether or not you trust that. But I also think it's cool because you could potentially screw somebody over because you say, listen, you only should benefit by trading that to me and nobody else. I think that could be maybe interesting. You can reject the trade to just draw a card from the deck as well. How do you win the game? Collecting resources in the backpack specific to your faction, killing the dark panda. The dark panda wins if they extend the game. So you need to get resources to kill the pandas, essentially. Rulebook, yes. I think there's some potential here. I think it's not excess potential that any other social deduction game won't give you, unfortunately, and especially with 17 or 23 with shipping. Like, this is an $80 social deduction game. I don't see how anybody can rightfully pull the trigger on this. But maybe if you love social deduction games and you wanted a lighter social deduction game, I don't know. The theme is fun, I'll give them that. And I think there are some potential unique decisions with like trading and wanting to force someone to discard their cards and not get a good trade because they don't trust you. They don't trust what you put down. I think that could potentially be interesting there. It just feels a bit too expensive. But I think no real complaints, just the cost. That finishes Thursday, June 20th at 5:59 a.m. Moving along to Escape the Rat Race. Conquer the world and work of rats. Oh, no, that's not it. Conquer the world of work and race to retire in this fast and furious set building card game for 2 to 5 hustlers. Okay, grab up to 4 friends as you race to retire. Yeah, we already said that. You can basically choose to get income or you can choose to spend that money. I love anthropomorphic rats like the next person. Pour that tree sap all over me. To successfully escape the rat race, be the first player to collect 3 experiences from each decade of your working life, so 3 colors. Once paid for, place them in front of you as memories for the world to see, like that one Black Mirror episode. The entire history of you, where he looks at those memories for all the world to see and he sees his wife sleeping with another man. Memories should stay in your head. Moral of the story, don't tell anybody about your experiences ever. In fact, never speak at all. That's what I got from it. Earn money. Each turn you will pocket the salary aligned with your character. Are you a steady professional? Or are you a bold entrepreneur? Holding up for the jackpot. Don't know what that means. Life is expensive. Use your cash reserves to purchase and build up experiences. So pay for the cards that you're collecting. Action cards help you. I'm going to download the rule, but you know what? The rules girl is fantastic, so I'll probably just watch that instead. In 1 minute, yeah.
Well, I forgot to unmute myself for the rest of this, but it's pretty uninteresting as I look through the rulebook. The main thing that is annoying is that you get a variable amount of money at the beginning of each turn, so it's kind of random in terms of how many actions you can actually do. So because of that, not really that interesting.
You know it! A new party game, a trivia game where it's not what you know, it's who knows what. So this is very similar to like, you must be an idiot, but you're probably betting on just the smartest person around you, and if they know it or not. Let's see. Dang. It's £28, $50 Canadian. I was hoping for much cheaper. I think it's a great idea, for sure. The premise of You Know It is essentially you answer the questions, and then you also predict the number of people who are going to answer that question correctly, and then you get points for that. I do like that it's a number of people and it's not a specific person, because that incentivizes you to actually answer it correctly, because you also get points for that. If it was just like, hey, they ask me an Attack on Titan question or a Shakespeare question, right? Although I'm probably more versed in Attack on Titan. But you'd think, okay, I'm going to write down Chris is going to get that right. And so I might be incentivized to sort of cheese the system or break the game in a way by being like, okay, I think people are going to make me say I'm going to get it right, I'm going to get it wrong. You could have that back and forth, which I don't think is in the spirit of this game. And so I do like that it is a number, but it's just how many whiteboards and some tokens to move around and a bunch of questions. Is it worth $50? Or is it worth even more than that, $67, to get just a color on the box? I don't know. Shipping to the UK, £8, USA, £9, Canada, £23. Come on. So this is almost a $100 trivia game if I want to get it to me in Canada, which I'm sorry, John Gracie, I cannot abide. But, you know, it's raised almost £50,000. That's probably enough. I think it would be a solid trivia game that'll be fine, as most trivia games are, and I think it's got a nice twist on it. I think Wits and Wagers is a very similar style game where you bet on people or groups knowing a thing, and you wager how much you are betting on yourself or whatever, but even still, check that out if you're interested. The finish is Thursday, June 20th at 1:08 p.m. Moving along to Mythic Battles. It's not in the US, it's in Canadian. I don't need a 5 reasons for this one. Mythic Battles Isfet. Explore ancient Egypt and Norse myths, commanding gods, monsters, and mortals in this 2 to 4 player adventure game. Adventure game? I thought it was a skirmish game. Now with the solo mode. I remember Mythic Battles. I think I liked the system a little bit, but let's take a look and refresh ourselves, because they've had a bunch. They've had like Mythic Battles Pantheon, Mythic Battles the other one. So yeah, you know, all of those hits. I'm sorry, I have to talk about this pharaoh coming up. You think maybe the pharaoh's going to use those as weapons, right? And especially when he pulls them out from him, and then no, he just laser beams the person in the eye and then goes back. And his whole premise here is like, what? He closes it. He could have laser beamed them like this. They weren't obscuring his view. What about moving his arms to the side to let him laser beam them? I don't know, but that's the sort of adventure that you can expect from Mythic Battles, essentially. Mythic Battles is a pretty simple game where you need to collect these little crystals. They're on the map, you got to run out and get them. You're also going to draft your army, so you'll decide a certain number of points, very similar to building an X-Wing horde or a Warhammer fleet, either of them. You'll have a certain number of those, and then you can draft your characters. I like that. I like that it isn't a trading card game, but it has those elements. I think that element is interesting, right? That draft of seeing what your opponent is choosing and then picking something to counter that and then picking something to counter that. I think the game, like almost maybe the entire game, could take place in that decision of the draft, and I don't hate that. Oh, this is cool. In adventure mode, the number of recruitment points and compositions of the armies are different. Each scenario brings its own special rules and recruitment methods to create the desired mood and feel, and imposes the choice of game board. I like that quite a bit. So it just gives you different scenarios, ways to shake things up, or you can just do skirmish mode with 14 to 18 recruitment. Each unit you recruit has 3 to 5 activation cards that are included in your deck, and it represents the number of times you can activate those units before your deck runs out. Is the game over when your deck runs out? I'm not sure. Probably would be good to write in the deck section. But that's what rulebooks are for. Probably when your deck runs out, you just reshuffle it. I would assume the games are designed so that you don't, because you only need to collect 4 stones. Or kill a divinity, destroys an opposing divinity. Can't draw, momentarily paused. Their deck is reformed. So adds all remaining cards from their deck to their hand. Okay, yeah. Each player shuffles their discard pile to form a new deck, and then draws if necessary until you have 3 cards in hand. Yeah, okay. So a very normal thing to do. Yeah, I mean, everybody has their own specific abilities, their own specific attacks. The minis are cool. And what is it, 120 euros, 179 Canadian, plus 46 to 50 in shipping, 26 to 30 in shipping. So if you're getting this in the States, it's 150 euros, it's like $200. I think this looks like a very fine skirmish game. You know, I think it's very fine. Is it worth this much? No. Unless you're a huge skirmish game fiend. If you love skirmish games, if they're the only ones that you play, then you should check it out. I think this looks good. It's like one that was in the top half of the $1 million campaigns, and it'll probably break $1 million, and it'll probably make the year tally, the year list of the $1 million campaigns that I like to cover and rank. But then again, things like botany make that list. So, you know, getting into the top half is a good, I don't know. I think this looks good, right? Like, I think it looks fine. I think it looks good. But I also think that we have so many good games out there. You know, so many great games at retail that good isn't enough. It really can't be enough because you don't have enough time for good. I certainly do not. I barely have enough time for great. And your time is valuable, right? Well, let's move that. Let's move that so we're not all having a friggin' blurry eye fest. Anyway, that finishes Thursday, June 20th at 9 p.m. I say this all the time, right? There's no reason to have a million games. There isn't. Games will be fine. Games will be played once and then they'll be done with, a lot of them. And your goal should be to not get games that you're going to play 3 times. Your goal is to get games that you will play 10 to 20 times. Now, do I have a library of games filled with games I've only played 3 times? Yes, but I can see myself playing them up to 10 times. So there you go. That finishes Thursday, June 20th, like we said, at 9 p.m. Let's move along. I just wanted to look at how probably horrible this is. But let's see if the Race to the Ark, board game that grows with your children. From simple rules as young as 5, the game adds new mechanics as your kids grow with push your luck, set collections, and more. Okay, kind of like that. I do like that as an idea. Let's see if we can get all those children onto the Ark so that God can drown the human race. You know what? $20, that's okay. I don't like that it's probably just roll and move. The push your luck aspect here is, are you going to just run around this circle over and over before the flood gets there? Probably will never happen because if you're rolling the same dice as the flood, you're going to get there on average the same amount of time. I don't know how you pick up animals. I think you just land on them. And so the set collection aspect is then like, hey, did I land on the right spaces? I don't see how a roll and move can ever have strategy, unfortunately. So even though you're adding set collection, which is good, it's still all completely random, which again means it's for kids, but I don't think it's going to grow up as much as you might be hoping for. It says 5+. That might be the cap in terms of decision making, in terms of what happens. I think kids might enjoy it. And you know what? $20 for a kids game, and especially on a Kickstarter game, that's pretty good, Noah's Ark. That's pretty good. 29, sure. So maybe this resonates with you, a little roll and move game for your children who hopefully won't grow out of it by the time it gets there. That finishes Thursday, June 20th at 11:30 p.m. Moving along to Yokai Septet Pocket Edition. Fan favorite trick-taking game is back with a smaller footprint and official inclusion of a 2-player mode. Okay, I remember Yokai Septet, he says as he watches the video to actually remember about Yokai Septet. Like, why not tell how to play the game in your video? I'm just curious. I don't know why. Well, are people coming here for a story, or are people coming here to play a game? In a 4-player game, we played in 2v2 partnership, which is what it's normally for. Here's a quick 90-second rundown. Okay, sure, make that your video. I remember now. So it's trick-taking. If you get 4 of the 7s between you and your partner, you win, but you only have 7 tricks to do it, because if you get 7 tricks and you don't have 4 yokai bosses in there, then your opponent scores all the points that are just left in your hand. And so you can force somebody to win tricks and make sure that they don't win with the yokai, which sounds like an interesting... Oh yeah, here's the summary. Here's the summary. This is why you put the rulebook at the friggin' top of the page, you jerks. So I don't waste my goddamn time. Sorry, Noah. You'll allow it just this once? Okay. A pocket edition copy though, $13. Yeah, they just made it in a smaller box, essentially, because it was in a larger box. 18 Canadian, US $5, Japan 6, rest of the world 8. So 21 US, about 30 Canadian. Let's see if my local game stores just have it for less than that. Well, look at that. $25 Canadian. Yeah, so about the same. Honestly, about the same, but this is a larger edition, I think. It's also out of stock, so this is a good time to get it. For 28 Canadian, that's about the going rate. That feels pretty good. I always like checking these reprints on what they actually sold for, what they're selling in the store, and then factoring the shipping, seeing if you get about the same deal. And this one you are. So if you've been wanting to get your hands on another trick-taking game and this one for a while, you can check this out. That finishes Friday, June 21st at 1 a.m. Let's move along to Terraria, the board game. Dig, fight, explore, and build in this cooperative tabletop adventure for 1 to 4 intrepid Terrarians. Now, I went off on Terraria on their 5 reasons you shouldn't back because they didn't have a rulebook. They are now adding a rulebook to the page, and they have a how to play video to the page with 7 days to go. So, it's not quite under the wire. It should have been at the very beginning of the campaign, though. There's absolutely still no excuse for it to have not been there. That's like a reveal. Hey, we're going to reveal to you how to play the game you've already signed up for. I always feel like that is intentional, that they just want to hype up themselves or get people backing on the IP and hope that when they release the rule book, they've already capitalized too much on their excitement that they don't actually read it and realize that it's not for them. This is an expensive game coming in at $109 Canadian, and it's going to be a lighter one as well. But there is a rule book now, which is great. So let's see how it works. How it actually works. Look at that. Work in progress. And then, oh my gosh, you can have your community contribute. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to use your starting card deck to generate action points, work together to dig for resources, chop down trees, fight enemies for loot, and explore the world. Improve your card decks, upgrade your equipment, build houses, and spawn NPCs to prepare for challenging boss battle. I think the actual flow of this does look like it could be fun. I think there's going to be a lot of random events. I think there's going to be a lot of randomness here. I think that the thing that is the most interesting to me is the potential of upgrading those action points and increasing those action points until you feel like you can do a bunch of stuff. And specifically, having a card that lets me do 3 of the dig action could also be fun in terms of specializing. And so trying to efficiently explore this area, yeah, could be fun. Yeah, calls itself a deck building game. So I do like that's very much the core. Draw a number of action cards equal to your hand limit. I think this does look fun. I don't think it would hit that much with me because I have no connection to the IP. The actions that you're going to get to do seem like they might be all right. You're essentially just gathering resources and trying to improve your deck. And I like that in a game, right? I just think with the cheapest price being like $130 Canadian, that's a lot for a lighter game, a smaller deck builder. I think those who enjoy the IP, though, hopefully will be getting a fun game. So that puts my mind at ease. That makes me excited for them. In terms of the general board gaming side of things, yeah, I don't know if I would get it if I wasn't interested in the theme. There's nothing that's really drawing me in too much mechanically that interests me outside of this theme. I really do actually, I don't think I talked about this in the 5 reasons. I really do like that it isn't the 2-bit art. I like that they've changed it for it's a whole new sort of art style and system and feel and flavor. And I really, really do like that. Personally, I never quite like the art in these games because I don't think it's necessarily the medium for it. But, looks solid. Again, too expensive. But if you really love Terraria, doesn't seem horrible. That finishes Friday, June 21st at 11 a.m. Moving along to Agemonia reprint and new heroes from the publisher of Eclipse, a fully cooperative board game with challenging moral choices set in an epic campaign for 1 to 4 players. Guess what? You still have too many campaign games because you didn't finish the first delivering of Agemonia or anything else that arrived at your door. There's no reason to purchase just for these 2 new heroes if you already have Agemonia. They're just adding it in as a little bit of a carrot to make people think that it's new and shiny and to be allowed to post it on Kickstarter again. That is why these 2 new heroes exist, not because they're mechanically integral to the game, but because Kickstarter won't let you do the same thing unless you have something new. And it appears that this is the bare minimum for something new. Or maybe Kickstarter's just kind of forgotten about that rule and doesn't talk about it and doesn't enforce it, and people, it's like the alcohol in a brown paper bag. Let's refresh ourselves on Agemonia. I remember a lot of it because it was pretty recent. It was actually around the same time as Iridia. It was Agemonia and Iridia were coming out around at the same time. So I guess a couple years ago now, and it has been delivering, and I know people in the Discord have been enjoying it. So let's check it out and let's see if it's all it's cracked up to be. You just brought potato in for the screen time. Okay, here's potato for the screen. Need some screen time. You here for the screen time? Like the screen time? Yeah, they had a whole miniatures expansion. This doesn't actually have miniatures in the main box. Just the new stuff for €35. What a deal. You can get some errata because they didn't do it right the first time. The core box, though, is €109, 162 Canadian. Everything else is a standee, which is probably what you want rather than doubling that for €229. Jeez. 100 hours of gameplay to make sure that you'll never play at all. I do like a fail-forward system that keeps your campaign moving forwards. That's nice. Dice Tower must have given it a good review. That's why it's on the campaign page. Yeah, 8.588. Tom was playing it with his family. Another game giving you card dividers in the expansion. Like, why do you not have a rulebook on here? Is it because your rulebook is bad and you're fixing it? Oh, Agemonia, what are you doing to me? You're saving me work. That's what you're doing. There's a big old how to play from Board Game Coffee here. Let's just peruse it. Nice hour and 15-minute instead of just being able to look through the rules that you may want to see. But, what can you do? Okay, that's fairly standard dungeon crawl. There's going to be a number of different stories and a number of different scenarios that you have to embark on. The draw to this is the narration. Your movements are going to be fairly self-explanatory. You can push, you have a certain resource stamina that you can use to kind of push additional movement or push resources or push actions to a little bit more efficacy. And how do you recover that stamina? I don't know, because I didn't get to that part in the video. But I think now, as opposed to the first time, is the time to get Agemonia, or never. You don't have to. Really, you shouldn't. However, it being out and it capitalizing upon reaching people's doors, you can go check out BGG, you can see what people are saying, see what people are excited about, and more importantly, look at the people that aren't having a good time with it, because I think those are generally more likely to give you important feedback rather than, this is the best narration ever, this story was the best story that was ever told because I've never read a story in my lifetime, right? Every campaign game has some quote that it is the best story ever, that it is the best narration ever, that it's the best epic experience ever, and that can't be true for everything. So I'm getting my cynical hat on, just like this. God, I need to go to bed. But yeah, I think maybe it's because I have so many campaign games. Like, I used to get really excited about campaign games. I used to get really excited about the possibility. Maybe that's because I had more time. Or maybe I was just excited in the possibility. If you're not a solo gamer, I don't think you should ever play campaign games. I think if you have a family, maybe you should never play campaign games. If you don't have a designated gaming partner whom you live with, or who's really close, maybe you shouldn't play campaign games. There's such an unbelievable time sink in terms of commitment, right? And I think it's awesome that there's a game that campaign games can be some of the most replayable games out there, or some of the most best value games out there, I should say, because you are going to constantly play it. You're going to constantly go through and try to get through all the different scenarios and see what happens and go on this story and this adventure. And if that hits with you, amazing. Like, that's awesome. You are probably one of the best value gamers out there as opposed to like an Omni gamer. But I just think the majority of people don't finish campaign games. Actually, I would love to know that as a statistic. I would love, maybe I'll tell Alex to include that in his like question period that he's been doing over on Board Game Co. He's been asking questions and then just like telling the results, just doing polls with his audience. I think that's really interesting to see how we rank in the subset of board gaming. Maybe we'll see if he'll do a question about campaign games or not. I don't know. We're going to move on. It's Friday, June 21st at 1 p.m. I don't see the incredible value here compared to any other campaign game that's coming out. You know, you can get excited about this. You can get excited about Elder Scrolls. You can get excited about, well, that's not really a campaign game because that's divided into like 3 sessions of mini campaign, which I find more exciting because you can potentially finish it. I, again, am still way more excited about Iridia. And Iridia has held my excitement through a deluge of campaign games. And that's what you want, right? You want a game that doesn't feel like all the others. And for me, Agemonia is not giving me that. But maybe it's giving that for you. So again, that's Friday, June 21st at 1 p.m. Okay, let's move on over to BackerKit again. There's a game on BackerKit, and it's called Mythords. Nope, it's called Mythords. Classic monsters. It's crossed its goals, so there you go. It's a deck builder area control with art by Mark Spears. Uncle to Brittany, I assume. Let's see. All right, it's an area control deck building game. You choose a commander, which represents one of the 4 factions. Has your own sanctum, which tracks your power, your health, your victory points. Sure, and they all have their own little ability. Which are what? Let's look at them. We have the ability. Let's do it. While in the sanctum, add +1 to any combatant, +1 to any so-and-so combatant. So you have like specific things where you're better at. And then before battle on your location, take 1 power from any of your opponents, add it to your sanctum. You can move in the sea, you can throw vehicles. Okay, I like that. I feel different enough. You'll generate power that you can use to buy cards from the general deck. So a standard deck builder. Attach spells, vehicles, and creatures to your characters. Deploy them to the location to gain influence. And then claim that location for yourself. Or you go on to mission cards, which are sort of one-time abilities. I've seen that progression track in something. First person to win 20 points. Okay, you just get points by claiming stuff as well. Somebody was like, shipping is a joke. 15 US, 24 Canada. That seems standard for... That was on Board Game Co.'s Professor Meg's video. I just clicked it because it seemed like she was sped up. It's like, is she sped up? Doesn't look like there's a rule book on the page, though, either, which is unfortunate. There's just some videos. No rule book, unfortunately. I mean, videos are fine, but as somebody who makes videos, I know people can get things wrong. It finishes June 21st at 3:59 p.m. I wouldn't really back it with the sketch that they've provided right now, because there is no rule book. So, there you go. Let's move along to Secret Villages and Santa's Workshop. You'll have to let me know if I'm phoning this one in. I like had a really nice speech at the very beginning, being like, hey, I'm so happy, like, super thrilled, everybody's here. I feel like I had energy, and then I'm just phoning it in for the rest of the video. But we're close to the end. We're close. We're going to get there, and we're getting here with Secret Villages and Santa's Workshop and related story puzzles. The first expansion to Merchants of the Dark Road, which I don't know how to play, plus the deluxe edition of Santa's Workshop, and our first 2 story-driven puzzles. I wonder what the deluxe offers. Like, are they... I think this is a case of, like, too much going on in one bundle, you know? At least for me to wrap my head around it. I like Santa's Workshop. I played it in January. This just gives you screen printed and some extra materials, wooden ornaments, acrylic tree, wooden score markers. None of that is necessary whatsoever, especially not putting into that $82 range. It was a fun, light worker placement. I would pay like $30-40 for it, maybe. I haven't played the exciting part of it, but... And then there are these puzzles as well. You assemble your puzzle, you find an altered detail, open the corresponding envelope to reveal a piece of microfiction that brings to life a story inside the puzzle. It's kind of neat. So like as you're building it, if you realize that something's changed, there's a little bit of a story to go into there. You get a little puzzle of the art too. I think that wouldn't be a bad thing, getting part puzzle of the art. And then there was also talking about the new expansion of Merchants of the Dark Road, but as somebody who has never played Merchants of the Dark Road, why would I care? Right? Why? I assume there's a Merchants of the Dark Road all-in that you're trying to sell me for $229 and you don't even talk about how to play Merchants of the Dark Road. That feels a bit inexcusable. This doesn't feel like the time to get any of this, personally. But I also think that Elf Creek, their stuff might be a little bit smaller and it takes a little bit of a time in between print runs. So if you've really been eyeing this stuff, although I know that Board Game Bliss just had a sale on Merchants of the Dark Road for like $35, which I was interested in. And then I realized I had too many games, didn't too many on the way. But yeah, I didn't even cover what shipping was. I just looked at it briefly. $8 to the US. That's pretty good shipping. $9 to Canada. That's also very good shipping. So not horrible shipping if you do want to get this. I just don't see the benefit of deluxifying Santa's Workshop. I think Santa's Workshop was really great when it wasn't deluxified, and a really decent deal when it wasn't deluxified, and then deluxifying it just puts it into that expensive range, which I don't think is necessary for the weight of game that it is. But if you're interested in that, or the puzzles, I mean, I didn't really cover Secret Villages, and I'm not gonna. That finishes Saturday, June 22nd at 12 a.m. Let's get back into it. Next up, we have the Pillars of Heracles. Awaken the legends. Lead your city-state through a monumental adventure in ancient Greece in this epic civilization board game for 1 to 4 players. Let's check it out. Well, that video was pretty exciting. Welcome to Ancient Hellas. I feel welcome. Let's find out how to play. Deck building, that's cool. Pillars of Heracles is more than a game. It's the first chapter in an ambitious trilogy, Legends of Hellas, that will take you on a sweeping journey through the golden age of ancient Greece into the empire-building conquest of Alexander the Great. Did you know you're not just backing a game, you're becoming part of a community dedicated to reviving the legends? So you're joining a cult. Classic edition, $49, yeah! I was not expecting that whatsoever. I was expecting like $89 or $100, as is normally the case now. $49 is great. It's like 70-something Canadian, and so basically it's $100 for me anyway, but it's great for those of you who it's not that for. And you just get some standees and some wooden components instead. Cool. Yeah, like, who cares? You don't need minis for everything. Blasphemy, I know. The Epic Edition, though, of course, you do need minis for everything, and that will show the difference of 170 versus 128. Oh, man, I'm excited. Well, okay, I'm not that excited, because Heroic Edition we're going to have the most, right? 394. Not that bad in terms of disparity between what people want. Yeah, your ultimate ancient Greek gaming experience. Wait, so playing gay sauna in togas isn't that? I'd beg to differ. Maybe it's the second ultimate, though. All right, why back us? How to play. Let's go friggin' halfway down the page until we actually learn what the game is like. Okay, so it's area control. You claim rewards based upon how much stuff you're controlling. Choose one of the 5 main actions on the rondel with your action cards, determining the focus of your turn. So you move around the rondel. There must be like that big chunky euro that it was like 2 weeks ago and I still don't remember it. It was by the people who did Bardwood Grove. Anyway, maybe something similar to that in terms of what you can activate and what you can't. You can move your people around. That makes sense. Procure, gain more powerful action cards. Deck building yourself, nice. Deploy, place units on the board. Probably have to use cards to do that. Well, yeah, you have to use cards to do everything, right? That's what it said. Choose one of the 5 main actions with your action card. So you're upgrading your own action cards as you go through. Maybe Concordia-esque, which might excite you, doesn't excite me. Build, level up your civilization, or settle, which allows you to give up on your dreams. Oh no, sorry, it allows you to remove the population tiles and place pillars on the game board. Grow your economy and your influence on the space. Hey, sometimes settling's a good thing, apparently. And then finally, ascend. Progress on the region tracks by spending resources, where you can gain passive abilities. Okay. Or use your special character ability, or complete your objective. If you're out of cards, you then have a replenish turn. All right. Winning the game by the player with the most glory. Dive deeper into the gameplay. Official rulebook, yes please. We like diving deeper. Wow, only 11 pages. Well, 22, but, you know, it feels like 11. I like that each of the region tracks changes. That's a little modular variable setup. That's exciting to me. You have the civilization track, and that can be on different regions, and that's naturally going to change the bonuses that you get. I think that's pretty neat. Start with your own hand of action cards, 10 action cards. Mythology cards, you can get more of them. That's cool. Demigod, Titan, Olympian. Oh, cool. You're going to be gaining strategy tiles to gain ongoing abilities. It seems like everything you do gives you just power-ups. More powerful abilities and more ongoing abilities, also known as power-ups, as I was trying to say 3 different things in my brain, but only one came out. Power! I guess I see the comparison to a civilization game because you are getting those permanent abilities. You are constantly like putting cities and stuff on the board and like leveling up your own skills. So I see that in a sense. it doesn't feel like a standard Civilization game to me, or at least it seems a little bit more rules light than a standard Civilization game. I always find the concept of Civilization games, I find them to be a bit overwhelming, and this one feels like it might actually be manageable. You get one of each to build a city. You're going to need cities to exert your influence over stuff. Oh, the game end is triggered at any time during their turn when somebody controls 6 cities, or reach the end of a number of region tracks equal to the number of players, or when 3 Era 3 prophecy cards have been removed. So those are objectives. Then whoever earns the most glory is the victor. Interesting that it's not like a glory tally, but it's one of these 3 endgame conditions. The control 6 cities thing just reminds me of Inish, and now I'm thinking in my head of what do I like better, the race to a certain objective tally or having variable endgame triggers that then people can draw out. It's like Terraforming Mars, right? The game ends when you hit the end of the 3 tracks, but if you are losing and you're the one who can end the 3 tracks, you are not incentivized to end the game. You can't necessarily catch up. Sometimes you can, but rarely you can, I find. But I think that's an interesting, like, Cold War situation that you might find yourself in, and just flagging for that purpose. Yeah, I think it's all right, for sure. I really do like the idea of the mythology being thrown in there. That kind of shakes it up from a normal city game or civilization game. Yeah, these mythological. Oh yeah, what was the rondel about? That's what I wanted to look up. Oh, I think because some cards let you only move a certain amount on the rondel space. One additional, one fewer space when advancing on the rondel during an advance turn. So an advance turn is when you advance on the rondel, and a replenish turn is when you draw your cards back up. So you've run out of cards, essentially. Yeah, so you play an action card and you advance the player marker clockwise on the rondel exactly as many spaces as the power card you just played. So chaining that together, figuring out how, if it's beneficial to play that super strong power card, if it means you're going to skip other actions. I think you really have to be tied into that rondel aspect as well to enjoy that sort of defining the moves and the options that you can choose. I always find personally that rondels kind of break my brain a little. I'm just not very good at them. Let's see what shipping is. Shipping 23 to the US, 26 to Canada. Again, that's about how much it should cost if it's not being subsidized. And everything is subsidized, right? But again, so that's 70 Canadian plus 23 US shipping, so it's like $100 for this game. For me, just for the classic edition. I really do like this $49 price point, though. I think that's cool. And I'm really not interested because of the rondel aspect. Mostly that. I don't really like the rondel, but I think the other stuff does seem neat. You know, I think if you do like rondel-style games, this is for sure one that you can check out. That finishes Monday, June 24th at 1 p.m. Moving along to Dark Blood. Only 99 euros a month. I think that's what that says. Let's say it's 99 euros a month with stretch pay. Because you know what? You still have to pay it all anyway. Dark Blood plunges players into the abyss of darkness, where they embody powerful asymmetric cults striving for darkness over a hapless village. I'm intrigued by this. This is not what I was expecting it to be. It seems there is an area control element, but it seems also a little bit more like maybe Scythe might be a bet in terms of the upgrading your own personal player board to give yourself additional actions. That's the vibe I got from the video as well. This is a 10 out of 10 thematic, it says. It's a 7 take that, well, just because it's area control. Sure. Well, thank goodness we have 3 busty ladies. It's what every horror genre needs, with wings and probably tentacles. Location abilities, randomly placed hexes each round, ensure endless replayability. Okay, it's just that every time there's going to be a new, different place to area control. But I guess that's somewhat interesting if your people stay there in between rounds, because then you have a foothold into something that you don't know if it's going to be good or not, but you can take that potential benefit from it, which will always feel good, of not having to commit anyone to a place and then getting a different benefit. You want to dominate locations, collect resources, and proselytize or sacrifice peasants. And presents. Corrupt the land by inserting your hexes into the event's game pouch and gain access to new rituals, yes. It's 99 euros, which works out to 150 Canadian. That is a bad conversion. This is cool. This is a really cool setup, just in the setup aspect. You're all going to start with a variable setup, which will be the number of blood and the number of victory points that you have, or the number of taint that you have, how much your taint is worth. your tokened taint is worth. How much is your taint worth? That's the question I'm asking you, good viewers. I do like this not knowing how much blood everybody has, which is what you get from sacrificing peasants. Naturally, the only thing that peasants are good for. Being one myself, I know. And just in case you weren't fully immersed in the horror theme, they make you hang a mini off of your tree to start the game. Jeez. Secret objective, secret blood. Yeah, I like that. During the upkeep, you always randomly place the 4 priority tokens, so that seems a bit weird. Oh, okay, no. I thought that was the order of the people. I thought it was your player order, but it's not. It's the order at which some of the locations are resolved. So very similar to the Rising Sun battle flags, essentially, that these will be resolved in a specific order, which in area control matters. Okay, so there's going to be a number of peasants. They always go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3. Essentially, there's 8 peasants. But when they get hung at the hanging tree, then they will slowly dwindle, making more locations a little bit more valuable as you go forward. Then you just place your cultists. You can place 1, you can place 2, then you can place 3. You can only have 3 there. So kind of like Keyflower a bit, except if it's at the church. Oh, but you're going to activate each. So it's kind of just like delayed worker placement, I feel. It's not really area majority, right? Because if you have majority in a location, the cultists can gather the area's resources. All cultists can collect resources, but the first to gather will collect more. And so it's just like a delayed worker placement, essentially activating the spots, the tokens that have come out, I think. You can murder other cultists who are there, though, right? And so you can limit people's resources or limit people's actions or activations. I'd like it more that it's just a big old gussied up worker placement game. Yeah, but you can essentially just get yourself more workers, right? Like it's a gussied up worker placement game is what it is. Interesting. $150 plus shipping. What's shipping like? Shipping 20 to 25 euro, 29 to 34 euro. Yeah, so we like $200 for this game. I guess if you really love the minis, sure, but you could just get the same exciting worker placement with Keyflower, I'd say, or maybe Scythe. I like the production. I like the style and the feel of it. The art seems pretty fun. I can see why people have backed it, but I also think people might be expecting more of like a cutthroat area control, and I guess you can eliminate people who are at your space, and there's a bit of that take that element, but it feels more like you're fighting for those resources. I don't know. That's just my take on it. If you're interested in that, it finishes on the 25th at 11 a.m., 25th being Tuesday. Moving along, we got 2 more. We've got Tiny Tables, just touching upon this pretty quickly. These things are so silly, and I think you already know if they're your type of silly or not. I think these little tiny tables that are essentially token holders, but in the shape of a table, are complete nonsense. They could be a little dice tray as well, a little dice place where you can roll all your dice. I think they're very, very funny. But I also don't see why I would ever get these, ever. How much is one? One tiny table and 4 cover leaves is 65 euro? Like, do you need it for the gimmick? Is that worth it for the gimmick? If you want to get 2, if you want to get 4, let's see what 4 is. You're spending $370 Canadian. I could buy an IKEA full table for that. I could get a second table and convert it. This is just astronomical for the price, and I can only assume somebody has come up with a 3D printed version of this for $10. You know? I can only assume that. I like that it's funny, but come on. If you are interested in that, though, that will finish next Tuesday, the 25th at 2 p.m. And finally, we're going to move on to something that I may or may not have. Diktat. You'll never know. Earth is encompassed by the artifact. In the shadows, several factions continue their death, struggling for supremacy. Several factions continue their death struggle for supremacy. Oh, okay, they're struggling, but there's lots of death. Will you succeed in imposing your diktat? Only the bravest of the brave and the numbest of the numb can take full value of the diktat. Okay, there's no video, so let's just keep on reading. This crowdfunding is for the French version of Diktat. The crowdfunding campaign for other language versions is scheduled for next year. Aha! Well, I guess we'll cover it next year then, and I'll save myself some time. Strategy game set in the award-winning version world of NOC. 2 to 5, 90 minutes. I doubt there will be a rule book in English if they're going for French. So I guess we'll get back to the big diktat later. Yeah, there's nothing here that I would be able to look at, so let's ignore it. That's it. That is it for the week. And every week I do a pick for me and a pick for you, the pick for me being the thing that I think is the most interesting, and the pick for you being the thing that I think you have the best chance of enjoying. But let me always preface this by saying, don't back at something every week, you ridiculous fiends. Play the games you have, you bumbling peasants. You know you can do that. But before we do that, I guess I'll do this week's edition of the Grunt Down. Crowdfunding Countdown. Let's go. Let's review what all the tabs we have that are open. No, we covered that last week. Ugh. No. Meh. Yeah. No. Meh. Yeah, that's right. I said it. A big old meh. You play the campaign games you have. Meh. Yeah. This is tough. I don't think there is a pick for you or me this week, judging by that little grunting. If I had to go with one, I think I would go with, for a pick for me, maybe Pillars of Heracles, Awaken the Legends. Maybe this is a pick for you because it's Rondell, so of course I'll hate it. But again, $49, I like that as a price, and look like there's enough going on here in terms of the movement. And then maybe pick for me Dark Blood, just based upon like the actual gameplay flow of it, but absolutely overpriced for what it is. So I think kind of no picks this week, and that's okay. Or maybe it's not. Maybe you waited all this way to the end just for me to grunt. Well, let's talk about something on my shelf then. Which one? Avalon! Spoiler alert. I'm doing an R&R show later on, and it's must-have games, and this is my number one. There you go. That's a must-have. Go get yourself a copy of Avalon. Yeah, nothing really jumped out to me. I think that the top one would be Pillars of Heracles. I think that is the top one. I think there's going to be some fun flow happening there. But yeah, check it out if your friend buys it or something like that. Anyway, that's it. That's it for the week. Hope you have yourself an amazing day. My name is Chris George. I don't have a catchphrase. And I don't have a clever way to end this. But if you want to hang out with me some more, well, go watch my packing video and you'll understand why I picked everything on the shelf behind me. See ya.